are going to see that how our steam turbine actually works. That's why all of these things, whatever I have written on this board, those are the basic introductory information for a steam turbine. So first of all, already we have a basic idea regarding a thermal power plant, because we have already covered the boiler part. Yes. If she requests, why shouldn't I refuse her? এখনো তো অঙ্কনার রিকোয়েস্ট আসেনি এখানে। So from the boiler we are getting a steam which is having lots of heat as well as pressure. Now that steam is going to feed to the turbine with the help of a nozzle. Okay, so let's try to clarify whatever I have written over here. First point, as an introductory information I have written, it is a prime mover. So prime mover means which can produce some energy. That means energy cannot be produced, we all know, but prime mover itself, it can produce some work. It can produce some work. So turbine can produce some work if some form of energy it is supplied to it. Obviously always some energy conversion is done by us, we cannot produce any energy. So turbine itself is a prime mover, just like IC engine. After this we are going to study IC engine. IC engine also a kind of prime mover which can produce some work. Okay, and it is coupled with the generator. So obviously while you are rotating that turbine, so the output of the turbine is obviously a rotating shaft, and that shaft is connected to the electrical generator. So we all know from our childhood knowledge that if you rotate a circular member inside a stator coil, so due to the cutting of flux, electricity will be generated. So that prime mover which is I am talking about, that is the steam turbine, the output of the turbine is coupled with the generator. As a result of that, the generator will produce some electrical energy, and I have also written over here, converts heat and pressure energy of steam into mechanical energy. Already I have told these things. The heat and pressure energy of steam, it is coming from the boiler itself. Lots of heat, lots of pressure. Both of these energy will be converted into mechanical energy. What does this mean, mechanical energy? Mechanical energy means the rotation of the shaft. If there is any motion, it can be a linear motion, it can be a rotating motion. They are termed as mechanical energy if there is any physical motion. So while you are impinging that steam on the blade of turbine, then it will rotate. That rotation of the turbine will be transmitted to the generator. As a result of that, output of the generator we are getting, that is electrical energy. So what does this turbine do actually? Turbine makes that conversion from heat and pressure energy into mechanical energy. That is the role of steam turbine. Second part I have written, high pressure, high temperature steam fast expands in the nozzle. That is the device, it is very important device, nozzle. I think you people have heard the name before, nozzle. Nozzle is basically a device, it is not a moving device, it's a static device. What it is doing here? It is just expanding the steam, and because of that, the steam whatever coming out from the boiler, it is going to enter in the nozzle first, and nozzle actually increase the velocity of the steam. That's why I have written emanates. Emanates means it's coming out of the nozzle as a high velocity fluid stream. High velocity fluid stream. So nozzle is basically increasing the kinetic energy. If you increase the kinetic energy, then when that steam is going to hit the turbine blade, it will create huge impact. So that as a result of that, the rotor part will rotate with a high RPM, that means revolution per minute. That is the role of nozzle. It will only increase the kinetic energy of the fluid stream. Which fluid stream we are talking about? The steam only. The steam which is coming from the boiler itself. Third point I have written, high velocity steam coming out of the nozzles impinges the blades mounted on a rotor. Rotor means suppose you can imagine the steam turbine a kind of device like your ceiling fan or table fan. It is not like so actually, the construction will be much more complicated, but think you can assume the thing in a miniature version like this. Lots of blades will be there, and on those blades this high velocity steam which is coming out of the nozzle, it will going to impinge the blade, dhakka marbe. And which blades? Those blades who are mounted on a rotor. And the fluid stream suffers a loss of momentum. Obviously, while the steam is going to hit the blade of rotor, so obviously the momentum will be getting dropped. The steam which is coming with a huge momentum, after hitting the blade, obviously momentum will getting dropped. And we all know from our Newton's law that while the momentum is getting dropped, obviously some force will be there, because that is the child of information for us, that it is, you can convert that equation, force equals to mass into acceleration. That means acceleration is nothing but change in velocity with respect to time, so it is nothing but the rate of change of momentum. Mass into acceleration, it will give you rate of change in momentum, that is responsible for creating a force. Obviously some force is there if the momentum is getting dropped, and that loss of momentum while it is flowing past the blades, that is absorbed by the rotating wheel due to production of torque. What is torque? While you are rotating a circular member like a wheel or steering or a revolving door, then you have to apply a tangential force onto it, by which that object will rotate with a centroidal axis, with respect to the centroidal axis. That is the torque. While you are rotating a steering of your car or a wheel of your car, then you have to apply a tangential force onto it. With the help of the tangential force, that circular member will rotate with respect to a centroidal axis, a central axis. That is torque. So obviously while you are trying to rotate a turbine, it is also a kind of rotating element or rotating member. Then with the help of production of torque, you can rotate it. So what it is happening there? The story is such like this. The steam which is coming out of the boiler drum, that will first enter in that nozzle. Nozzle will increase the kinetic energy because it will increase the velocity of the steam. So that steam which is coming out of the nozzle, it will going to hit the turbine blade. As a result of that, turbine will rotate due to production of torque. So while the turbine is rotating, the output of the turbine is a circular shaft. That shaft is coupled with the alternator or generator. So generator will produce electricity. Now that electricity is going to transfer to the grid or from grid to your home. This point I have written, the moving blades rotating due to change of momentum or change in momentum. While the change in momentum is occurring, that is the thing we want to create over here. If there is change in momentum, then obviously a force will be there, and that is the responsible force, that is a tangential force actually you are talking about here. That is the responsible factor who is rotating that turbine. So steam turbine is an assembly of nozzle, important component, stationary casing. Inside of that casing, that whole turbine is being placed properly, rotating blades mounted on the wheels, that is the rotor part, attached on a shaft in a row wise manner. In a row wise manner means, obviously, if you want to create or you want to design a efficient turbine, then you cannot keep only one row of blades. Multiple number of rows will be there. So what will be the advantage of it? If series of rows are there of blades, then continuous expansion of the steam will take place. That means more work will be produced. Suppose if there is only one row of blades, then steam will be expanded and it is going out. So while the steam is going out, lots of energy will be exhausted with the steam, because the energy which is possessed with the steam, it is not fully recovered. Our objective is very simple. We have to utilize the maximum amount of energy out of the steam. Then you can get more amount of work. Suppose if you have only one row of blade in the turbine, then what will be the problem there? Then maximum work, or rather say maximum energy of the steam will be exhausted in the atmosphere. It is a wastage. That's why if you see any video from YouTube of steam turbine, you can see there every construction having multiple row of blades. If there is multiple row of blades, then continuously the steam will be utilized. From one row of blades, the steam will be transferred to the next row, then next row to next row. So what will be the output of that? The maximum energy of the steam will be recovered or will be utilized. That's why I have written over there that on the wheels attached on a shaft in a row wise manner. One row, second row, third row, fourth row, but they all are coupled to the single shaft. So while the steam is passing through from one row to second row to third row, it will continuously doing some work. So multiple staging are there actually. So due to this multiple staging, more amount of work will be produced. As a result of that, more shaft work, more RPM of the shaft, more electricity will be generated. Nothing else. That's why these are the important component what I am talking about. Nozzle is a very important one. First of all, we should discuss our class today with nozzle. Then a casing, which is basically protecting that turbine from the atmosphere. Then a rotating blades mounted on a wheel, and all these blades arranged in a series manner. So multiple number of stage are there. Multiple number of staging will be there. One stage, that means one row of blade. Second stage, that means second row of blade. Third stage, third row of blade, like this. And all these row of blades coupled with a single shaft. Understood, beta? Up to this limit, if you have any question, then please shoot. So, steam turbine is a very ancient time device. It is not so, it is invented recently. In the year of 1878 it is discovered. 1878. And the scientist he named was Carl G.P.D. Lowell. That is the name of the scientist who invented in the year of 1878. He was a Swedish engineer. He is not a scientist. He developed a simple impulse turbine. And actually he developed the turbine using a convergent divergent supersonic nozzle. What is this? That I will discuss later. So you can see that it is a very old guy actually, and till date steam turbine, it is a very efficient prime mover who is still in practice. So in thermal power plant, in nuclear power plant, as well as in case of ship, submarine, they all are using steam turbine very efficiently, and it is a very good prime mover actually. So our today's class, we are going to start with first nozzle, because nozzle is that particular device who is there to create that steam with a very huge velocity. That's why first of all we should start with the nozzle, then we will move forward to the turbine. So let's start with nozzle first. So we should have some basic information regarding nozzle. Nozzle is basically a duct. It is a duct. What it is doing? It increases the velocity of flowing fluid. But we all know that if any energy is increased, then any energy should be dropped. That means if you want to increase the velocity, velocity is basically energy in form of kinetic energy actually you say. So if you increase the kinetic energy, then obviously some energy should be dropped, otherwise you cannot increase kinetic energy. So nozzle is decreasing the pressure energy at the expense of pressure drop, it will increase the kinetic energy. So it is a duct, it is a duct which increases the kinetic energy of steam at the expense of pressure drop. So pressure of the steam will getting dropped. As a result of that, kinetic energy of steam will getting increased. Okay, and another device is there which is known as diffuser. Diffuser is also a kind of duct which decreases the velocity, just opposite of the nozzle. Here we are not going to discuss regarding diffuser, but just a information for you people. The diffuser is a opposite function of the nozzle it does. That means it will decrease the kinetic energy of any fluid at the increase of pressure. So pressure will increase and velocity of fluid will decrease in case of diffuser. And nozzle, it will increase the kinetic energy of steam. Here we are talking about steam only, because here the working fluid is steam, but it is not so that nozzle is only used to increase the velocity of steam. Not really. Any kind of fluid we are talking about, it can be a liquid, it can be a gas. The nozzle do the same purpose. Okay. Now depending on the end condition means output of the nozzle. At the outlet of the nozzle, depending on the end condition, we can use the same duct as a nozzle or a diffuser. I am again repeating, depending on the condition of the nozzle, that means which fluid you are imposing to the nozzle, the velocity of the fluid, what it is coming to the nozzle, depending on that thing, as well as depending on the end condition, that means the output of the nozzle, what pressure you are maintaining, depending on those things, a same duct can be used as a nozzle or as a diffuser. Like if I say like this, if the cross section of a duct decreases gradually from inlet to exit, then duct is said to be a convergent shape. So I should give you a basic idea that what it is look like, a convergent nozzle or a divergent nozzle. Suppose a cross section which is look like this. flow is coming from here and going out from there. So you can see the area of this part and area of this part, you can easily say A1 means the cross sectional area of this side and A2 means the cross sectional area of this side. So you can easily say that A1 is greater than A2, and this kind of cross section, while the final cross section is smaller than the initial cross section, that is known as convergent section, convergent duct I can say, because the shape is convergent and as well as it can be a divergent also, like this manner. Obviously the cross section is a circular one, don't take it like this. I am giving you a front view. If you take a side view, it is a circular cross section. Okay, here also it is the incoming and it is the outgoing. It is the A2, this one side is cross section is A1. Here A1 is less than A2 and this section is known as divergent section or divergent duct. And the cross section of them is basically a circular one. Okay, so the duct said to be divergent if the final cross section of the outgoing cross section is greater than the incoming. And if you combine them both, like this shape, that is the shape which is used here for the steam turbine actually, this kind of shape, you can see here, that is this part is convergent shape and that part is a divergent shape, and the minimum cross section is known as neck of the nozzle, and this is the shape which is known as convergent as well as divergent duct, and it is the most efficient one in comparing with this one and that one. Okay, so this is also known as convergent divergent duct or nozzle. This minimum cross section is known as neck, and we can see afterwards that how it is more efficient than this one and that one. And in steam turbine, basically this kind of nozzle we use, not the convergent only, not the divergent only, a combination of convergent divergent nozzle we actually use. Okay, so always this minimum cross section, what I am talking about here, the minimum cross section is known as the throat of the nozzle. That minimum cross section of the nozzle is always known as throat. Okay, so what it is actually occurring in the nozzle, for the sake of pressure drop, we can increase the velocity of any fluid. That is the thing what it is occurring inside the nozzle. So how the pressure is going to drop? Obviously due to the friction inside the nozzle surface, when any fluid flowing over this surface, then pressure will be getting dropped, and while the pressure is getting dropped, it will be converted into other form of energy, that is the kinetic energy. That is the function actually doing over here. Now we are going to see that how the actual governing equation of nozzle can be derived. That means based on which equation a nozzle can be expressed properly. That means the governing equation of nozzle. That equation will clear you the idea that how the nozzle is related with cross sectional area of the nozzle as well as with the pressure and the velocity. These three things are important over here. What are the three things I am talking about? One is cross sectional area A, second thing is pressure generally expressed by P, and the third parameter, that is the velocity of the steam. These three parameters will be the stars for this equation what I am going to show you now. Okay, so just to derive the governing equation of nozzle, we have to use first the Euler's equation. I know that you people do not have any idea what is Euler's equation. Do you know what is Euler's equation? Have you heard this name before? Acha. So that Euler's in mathematics it can be a different one, but in case of this subject, basically Euler's equation is a very famous equation in terms of fluid mechanics. Okay, so because it is coming over here just to give you the idea that based on which equation that nozzle actually works. I am not going to derive the Euler's equation over here because it is not needed for you people. Just I am going to use the final form of Euler's equation. It is basically an energy equation. It is basically an energy equation which is valid for a fluid which is flowing through a duct. I am going to use the final form of Euler equation, which is look like this: dP by rho plus VdV plus G dz equals to 0. Have you heard Bernoulli's equation ever before? Bernoulli's equation. Bernoulli's equation is there in class 12 subject, class 12 of CBSE board. Yes, Bernoulli's equation, if you heard that name before, so that Bernoulli's equation actually derived from the Euler's equation itself. You check this relation, if you do a simple integration, of this Euler's equation, you can achieve the Bernoulli's equation. So Bernoulli have done a simple technique by doing an integration of Euler's equation. He was very popular. After integrating that Euler's equation, he formed a new equation which is known as Bernoulli's equation. But we are not going to use Bernoulli's equation here. Just see this Euler's equation. What this equation tells us? This equation dP by rho. dP means the change in pressure, rho is the density, v is the velocity, dv is the change in velocity, and dz, z means the elevation. Z stands for elevation. So z, I can give you some writing part. Z is the datum head actually. Datum head means the elevation from any reference surface. Then these are a differential form. dz means a differential form of z. Then v is standing for the velocity and p stands for the pressure of the fluid and rho stands for the density of fluid. The fluid which is flowing through a duct. Okay, so this equation is known as Euler's equation. It is not needed for you how it is coming. Just we are going to use this equation. Okay, so now the nozzle, if it is lying horizontally, I am talking about a nozzle, suppose this one, a convergent part shape like this. This is the axis of the nozzle and it is lying horizontally, that is our reference surface. So while it is lying horizontally, then that point of time from this side z and from this side z, it is remain constant, I can assume. So that's why the dz part is nullified, because we are considering the nozzle is placed horizontally. That is the reason. So one second. So if we nullify the dz part, then that equation will be look like dP. dP is nothing but minus rho v dV, and I can convert this equation like this way also. dP by rho v square equals to minus dV by v. See, I have nothing done special over here. Just bring this rho v part in the left hand side, and after that 1 by v is multiplied both the sides. So this equation will be getting formed. If you have any confusion, then please just rho v coming down, then after that intentionally by force I have multiplied 1 by v. Understood or not, beta? Anyone? Thank you. So why I am doing so? Why I am doing so? Joitri, you are the seer and you are coming 35 minutes late. अच्छा ठीक है, चलो. So this is the equation what I am named it as like equation number 1. It will be used afterwards. Now dv by v, what does this mean? Change in volume with respect to change in velocity with respect to initial velocity. Now from continuity equation, I think you people have heard this name before. Continuity equation এটাও ছোটবেলায় ছিল, ক্লাস 12 স্ট্যান্ডার্ডে ছিল. Continuity equation we are considering for 1D flow, that means one directional flow. 1D flow means one directional flow. That means while the fluid is flowing here to there, we are considering there is only one directional flow. Obviously in real manner one directional flow is nothing there. All the time the flow is occurring, there will be 3 dimension, x, y and z, but for the simplicity we are assuming the flow is flowing in a one direction. So continuity equation, what does this mean? That means conservation of mass. Mass will be remain constant before and after. That is the main thing of continuity equation, conservation of mass. Okay. So what does this mean, continuity equation? If I write this continuity equation like this manner, check, are you people capable to understand of this or not? That is constant. Rho means the density, same thing. A means the cross sectional area, and v, that is the same thing, velocity of the fluid. Now I have told you just that continuity equation is nothing but the conservation of mass. See, this product of these 3 things, is it giving you mass or not? How it can be checked? Very simple. Just put the SI unit of every element and check, is it coming with the unit of mass or not? Check. Obviously density unit, anybody can help me out? Do you know people that what is the unit of these 3 parameters? Anyone? Density unit in SI? Childhood knowledge, nothing engineering with it. Thank you. Continue with me. Area, thank you. Then coming with velocity, thank you. So what it is giving us? Check, only mass per second. That is nothing but mass flow rate. So continuity equation gives us that conception that mass will be remain constant. Now mass flow rate means with respect to time. That is giving the same meaning, that mass flow rate will be remain constant before and after. So if you take this nozzle for our control volume, if you name it like number 1 section, number 2 section, so obviously in between these 2 section mass flow rate will be remain constant, isn't it? And this is the form of continuity equation if it is considering for one directional flow. If it is converted into 3 dimensional flow, then it will be a different form. That is I'm not going to discuss over here. That equation is very needed for mechanical engineers. Okay, so I am coming to this particular part. Can you tell me, if this is the form of continuity equation in one dimensional flow, then what will be the differential form of this one? What will be the differential form of this one, this equation? Do you know differential form? Simple one. Let's see, can you understand or not? Yes. Thank you. So the differential form will be like this. If you have any confusion, then you can shoot me. I can, যেটা তোমার বন্ধু এক্ষুনি বললো, basically differential form means I have to do this thing. If I do the differentiation on the left hand side, right hand side also will be differentiate and constant is there. So obviously it will be remain 0 after differentiating a constant. You all know that differentiating a constant, it will produce you 0. So that is the thing what I am doing over here. So it is a simple differential method. If you keep this AB constant, then it will be 0. Then if you do arrow constant, then it will be dV. And if you keep rho v constant, then it will be dA. Now just take common rho AV forcefully. So take a common of rho AV, then this equation will be converted into this form. Have you understood or not? Tell me. If you take rho AV common, allow me to take some breakfast for me because I haven't done anything. কেউ যদি বুঝতে না পারো, প্লিজ টেল মি। Understood? Thank you. So that is the form what we need over here, the differential form of continuity equation. This thing is basically, I have shown you that how it is converted. From there I need to convert this equation like this manner, dA by m in terms of change in area with respect to initial area. It will be look like this, d rho by rho minus dV by v, and name that equation by 2. Numbering korchi ei karone it will be easy to count this equation furthermore. Okay, and I am wiping this side, so some space is needed actually. Say minus dV by v, it is written dP by rho v square already by Euler's equation. If you substitute over there, so from equation 1 and 2, I can write like this, dA by A is equals to dP by rho v square, dP by rho v square. Mind it, P and rho, they should not look like same. dP by rho v square minus d rho by rho, and intentionally I have taken a common over here, that is dP by rho v square. If I take dP by rho v square as a common, so it will be converted like this, 1 minus, check this equation, v square by dP by d rho. Check, if it is confusing then tell me. From right side I have taken a common forcefully, dP by rho v square. So this part will look like this or not, check it out. So number this equation by 3. Now one new number will be coming from you. Have you heard Mach number? Have you heard ever? Okay, অনেক কিছু জানি না, কিছু কিছু জানলে ভালো লাগবে। দেখো, Mach number is a very special number. That number is basically represented by m subscript a, and it is expressed by actual velocity by sound velocity or velocity of sound. It is a very interesting number. আমরা যে বলি না supersonic speed, a jet plane, a fighter jet plane is running flying with a supersonic speed, boli to actually it's কি একবার বলো এমটি কি yes বলো যুদ্ধ বিমান বলো নটিক্যাল স্পিড বলছো তুমি একটা স্পিডের ইউনিট হয় নটিক্যাল স্পিড তবে যুদ্ধ বিমানের ক্ষেত্রে ম্যাক নাম্বার খুব ইউজ হয় ম্যাক নাম্বার ইজ আ ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং থিং আমি ম্যাক নাম্বার নিয়ে অনেক কিছু বলতে পারি সেটা অ্যাডভান্স ফ্লুইডের একটা টপিক ওগুলো তোমার দরকার নেই বলে বেশি ডিটেলে যাচ্ছি না ম্যাক নাম্বার ইজ আ নাম্বার হুইচ গিভস ইউ দ্য আইডিয়া the velocity of an object, is it a supersonic, is it a subsonic, is it sonic, is it hypersonic, like this. তার মানে object's velocity, is it more than velocity of sound or less than velocity of sound or something more than the velocity of sound. Basically it gives you a comparison of velocity of any object with respect to the velocity of sound. Why it is coming over here? It is coming over here because the fluid which is flowing through the nozzle, that is the steam, is it flowing with a supersonic velocity or is it coming with a subsonic velocity? That will be decided by this number. It is a very interesting thing. আমরা যে বলি না ফাইটার প্লেন রানিং উইথ আ সুপারসনিক স্পিড yes they will run with supersonic speed and their velocity supersonic speed is decided by this Mach number obviously sound না আমি বলছি না এক্সাক্ট ভ্যালু আমি বলা যায় না sound velocity in air, that is in air I am talking about, in air, that is 332 meter per second. We all know this. And the object velocity, if it is more than this, then it will be Mach number more than 1, obviously. If the object velocity is more than this velocity, in air I am talking about, because fighter plane always fly through the air, then the Mach number value will be greater than 1, and if the Mach number value is greater than 1, then we say the object is flying with a supersonic speed, and it will create a boom sound. Because have you ever heard, because we don't have that scope, because fighter plane never fly with a supersonic speed when it is coming near to the horizon. যখন আমাদের কাছাকাছি ফ্লাই করে, then it is not flying with supersonic speed. But if an object flying with a supersonic speed, it will create a booming sound, which is known as sonic boom. আমি ওগুলো যাচ্ছি না, সনিক বুম, জোন অফ অ্যাকশন, জোন অফ সাইলেন্স, এই ম্যাক নাম্বারটা বিশাল ব্যাপার। ডপলার এফেক্ট শুনছো? ডপলার এফেক্ট, আচ্ছা ওই ডপলার এফেক্টের সাথে ম্যাক নাম্বারের সুন্দর একটা কেমিস্ট্রি আছে, ছাড়ো ওগুলো যাচ্ছি না। সো ওয়াই ম্যাক নাম্বার ইজ ইম্পর্টেন্ট হিয়ার? বিকজ দ্য ফ্লো অফ স্ট্রিম which is coming to the nozzle, is it with greater than Mach number or less than Mach number? That is the reason why it is coming over here. And Mach number is expressed by actual velocity of the object with the velocity of sound, and it is expressed by this way: ma, actual velocity of the object I am taking here v, and the sound velocity, it is commonly expressed by small a. Most of the books use small a. And we can derive the expression, the derivation I am not going to do over here, that is also needed for mechanical part. We can derive a relation by which that sound velocity a can be expressed by this relation, dp by d rho root over of. That is the expression which is for sound velocity. It can be derived. A is equals to root of dp by 0. So what does this give? A square equals to dp by d rho. That relation is very easy to derive, but it is not needed here. While I can derive this equation, this is only valid if the flowing fluid is a compressible medium. I am again telling you the same topic. Why this relationship is only valid if the working fluid is a compressible medium. That means that can be compressed, and the gas is a compressible medium, you know, because the molecular space between two molecules for a gas, it is wider, so gas can be compressed easily, but liquid cannot be compressed. And for a nozzle, basically steam is flowing, and steam is very easy to compress. That's why we are talking about here. This equation is valid for compressible medium. So we can use this relationship over here. That is the main objective. See, dp by d rho is there in equation number 3, and that is equal with a square. So this equation will be changed like, where I should writing here, this dA by A equation is dp by rho v square is there, and inside bracket 1 minus v square by a square will be there, isn't it? Why? Because dp by d rho is equal with a square. A square means, a means the sound velocity, velocity of sound. So I can convert this equation number 3 like this manner now. If you have any confusion, then please. And from here I have to remove this top side, space is very limited here. Finally I can write this equation which is needed for us, dA by A dp by rho v square, dp by rho v square within bracket 1 minus this v square by a square, that can be written by Mach number square, isn't it? Because Mach number is v by a. So this is the expression what we need. Name this equation number 4. And that same equation I can write like this also, write it with some different color. dA by A is equals to, see, dp by rho v square equals to minus dv by b by equation 1. So I can replace it, minus dv by v, keep this part as it is. Name this equation by 5. Don't get confused by this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lots of equations are there. But actually numbering is being done just to make the process easy, nothing else. We need the outcome. The outcome is this one and this one. Now I can wipe out this part, because this part is not needed now, because the final relationship is already being derived. If you have any confusion up to this, then please. From these two relations, what we can see the change in area with respect to initial area. They are related like these two equations. In one equation you can see there is dp, that means change in pressure, and the other one is dealing with velocity, that is dv, and both of these right hand side relate with the same thing, which is coming at the left hand side. Understood? So I should slightly modify these two equations and write it with a fresh look, keeping this equation number 4 as it is, dA by A 1 minus ma square dP by rho v square, keeping the equation number 4 as it is. And for the 5, this minus I am putting it inside, so it will be look like this, dA by A is equals to ma square minus 1 into dB by v. That is equation number 5. Using these two equations, we can say that for Mach number less than 1, that is a subsonic flow, what actually happens? Case 1, see, case 1, I am taking 2 cross section. It's a very interesting thing. You can understand now that a same cross section, how they will behave differently. See, one converging section is there, flow is coming from this side going out. Two different sections I have shown over here. Okay, this is a converging part or converging section, and this is a diverging section. Okay, here I am taking cross section is A1, here A2, and the coming velocity it is V1, and which is going out, that is V2. And the same thing here also, A1, A2, coming velocity V1, outgoing velocity V2. Now case 1, we are considering the flow is subsonic. Now if your exam, if you are asked that what is the governing equation of nozzle, these two equations, they are the governing equation of a nozzle. How they governing? Now we are going to see. First case, consider the flow is subsonic. That means Mach number is less than 1. If the Mach number value is less than 1, that is a flow which is known as subsonic. That means the flow which is coming to the nozzle, that is subsonic. Okay. Now for this subsonic flow, how these two nozzles behaving? One is converging nozzle, one is diverging nozzle. See, I am making a boundary. This side converging, this side diverging. Now check. While the Mach number value is less than 1, first concentrate on the converging part. In converging part, that A2 is less than the A1. That means dA means what? dA means change in area. Change in area means final area minus initial area. Always change should be considered like final minus initial, always, any change. So for converging area, that dA will give you which sign? Obviously A2 is smaller, so it will give you a negative sign, isn't it? Now see that velocity we are talking about. First the Mach number is less than 1. So if the Mach number value is less than 1, then this part will give you a positive result, isn't it? This part, bracketed part. While Mach number is less than 1, then this part will give you a positive value. What does this mean? That means the sign of left hand side and the sign of this dp by rho v square, both of them will be positive. Otherwise this both the side will not be in equal side, because this left hand side and right hand side always should be equal. And if this side, this 1 minus ma square, if it is giving you a positive value because Mach number is less than 1, then obviously the sign of this thing and sign of this thing will be same or not. That means if dA giving you a negative result for a converging section, then dP also give you a negative value. This is a simple conclusion we can draw. Just try to feel the thing. While for converging section dA is negative, dP is also negative. And coming to this equation, this part is also giving you positive value. Is it? No, it is giving you negative value. Why? Because Mach number is less than 1, so a small value it is squared, so it is less, more less. So if ma square minus 1 will give you a negative result, isn't it? Why? Because this Mach number is less than 1. Suppose if it is 0.5, then 0.5 square it will give you more less, isn't it? It will go like 0.25. So that's why as a result of that I can say that this parenthesis part will give you a negative value. Okay, what does this mean? That means this left hand side and this dv by v, this dv by v and this dA by a, they is acting now reversely, oppositely. Because dA by a, if it is positive, then this dv by v will give you a negative sense, because this part is giving you a negative sense. So here from equation 4 you can see dA by a and dP both are acting in the same direction. If it is increasing, it will increase. If it is decreasing, it will also decrease. dA and dP both acting in the same direction, because this parenthesis part, the regulator here, it is giving you a positive value. So dA and dP, they act in the same direction. If dA increases, then dP increases. If dA decreases, then dP also decreases. From equation 5, just the opposite thing, because this part is giving you a negative value. So dA and dV, now they work oppositely. So here, while dA is negative, then dV will give you a positive value. From equation 4 and 5, we can conclude this decision, that here dA is negative, as a result of that dP will also negative. dP is also negative means what? That means final pressure P2 will be less than the initial pressure. P2 minus P1 will give you a negative value, isn't it? Because dP is negative means what? dP means final pressure minus initial pressure, and if it is negative, then final pressure is less than the initial pressure. That means pressure is getting dropped while it is traveling through a convergent section. In this section, if it is pressure P2, and if this section is the pressure is P1, then here P2 is less than P1. That means pressure is getting dropped. While pressure is getting dropped, obviously velocity will increase. And see, the velocity change, it is positive. Velocity change positive means what? That means V2 minus V1 will be a positive value. That means V2 is greater than V1. So for a converging section, velocity increased and pressure decreased. dP is less than 0. So dP is less than, yes. না, কনসেপ্টটা ওইরকম নয় বাবা। If you want to maintain the conservation of energy law, then if one energy is increased, then obviously the involving other energy, any one of them should decrease. Always, if you want to conserve the conservation of energy thing. So, if this section and this section, that means in between section 1 and section 2, you can see from these two law that pressure is decreased from point 1 to point 2, and if pressure is decreased, then obviously that pressure energy will be converted into some other form of energy, and that is the energy which is known as velocity here. So velocity obviously will increase if the pressure is getting dropped. For the sake of conservation of energy, it will always be there. It is not so ideally or theoretically, practically it will occur. So while this kind of converging section is there and the flow is subsonic, basically in our real world, not in real world, in our daily practice, actually we are having with a flow which is subsonic. It is very difficult to achieve supersonic flow, not very easy. So if you suppose a fluid is occurring through a pipeline in your garden pipe, suppose you consider, and a garden pipe at the outlet part use a shape like this converging shape. By pressing your finger you can also produce that kind of shape. That point of time, you will see that velocity of the fluid which is coming out from this converging part, obviously it will increase. Quite a magnificent increasing of velocity will be there from the outlet of that converging part. And this kind of nozzle actually we see in our daily life. In your holy pitchkari, those pitchkari also use this kind of nozzle, converging part. There also we create a subsonic flow, because in daily practice it is not so easy to create supersonic flow. Every point of না বাবা, প্রেশার ইনক্রিজ হয় না, প্রেশার ইনক্রিজ হয় না, ভেলোসিটি ইনক্রিজ হয় বাবা, ভেলোসিটি ইনক্রিজ হয়। আমরা যেটা দেখি দ্যাট ইজ দ্য ভেলোসিটি, দ্যাট ইজ নট দ্য প্রেশার। নেভার অকার্স, প্রেশার নেভার ইনক্রিজ দেয়ার, প্রেশার ড্রপড ডিউ টু দ্যাট ভেলোসিটি ইনক্রিজেস। আমরা যেটাকে আমাদের ডেলি প্র্যাকটিসে প্রেশার বলে থাকি, দ্যাট ইজ নট দ্য প্রেশার। যেটা বাইরে বেরোচ্ছে যে ফ্লো, সেটা ভেলোসিটি ইনক্রিজ, not the pressure. Pressure means the pressure which is created to the wall of the container by the fluid particle, that is not increased. Increase the velocity, we see the velocity, we never see the pressure. এইভাবেই তো ইন্টারকানেক্টেড। যেটা বলছি সেটা কেন বুঝছো না আমি জানি না। প্রেশারটা যদি কমে, প্রেশার তো একটা এনার্জি, that energy should be converted into some other energy, the energy which are involved in this particular system. So if pressure is dropped, that drop of pressure will be converted into velocity, nothing else. Same thing, এটা সব সময় সত্যি, এটা এমন না আইডিয়াল কেস বা থিওরিটিক্যাল কেস, it is real practice, it is happening so. And in case of diverging part, see the other part with the same flow characteristic, that means subsonic flow. Subsonic flow and for diverging section, see here dA is A2 minus A1 and it is giving you a positive value obviously because A2 is bigger. So if dA is positive, then from equation 4 I can say if dA is positive then dP is also positive. dP is also positive. dP is positive means what? Then dP means P2 minus P1 and it is giving a positive value. What does this mean? That means P2 is greater than P1, otherwise it cannot give you positive value. Similarly, equation number 5 gives us that dV is also reverse sign of dA. because it is giving you negative value. Just in case this case, the same thing. So dV will be negative because dA is positive. So dA and dV, they are acting oppositely. So dV will be negative. dV means negative means what? dV means V2 minus V1, and V2 minus V1, if it is negative, what does this mean? That means V2 is less than V1. All these things will occur in this diverging cross section. So that's why it is known as diffuser. See what it is coming conclusion. Conclusion, dP is P2 is greater than P1, so dP is greater than 0, and dV is negative, so dV is less than 0. So as a result of that, here V2 is less than V1. Outlet velocity or outgoing velocity will be less than the incoming velocity, and dP, that is change in pressure, is increased. So from inlet to outlet, while the fluid is traveling with a subsonic velocity, then the velocity will be getting dropped at the expense of pressure drop. So pressure here, actually it is not pressure drop, it is pressure gain. With the increase of pressure, the velocity is getting dropped, and here with the drop of pressure, the velocity is increased, and both of this thing is occurring while the flow is subsonic. So from here I can conclude one thing, that for subsonic flow, converging section act like nozzle, which will increase the velocity at outlet, and diverging section of nozzle, it will act like diffuser, which will reduce the velocity at outlet. Understood or not? Now just see, while we convert that flow situation from subsonic to supersonic, then just it will change like a magic. Considering case 2 and considering the flow is supersonic, that means the flow which is coming to the nozzle, that is supersonic, that is Mach number is greater than 1. Assuming the same thing, converging section, diverging section, just wipe this particular side and this thing. Now see the magic over there, it will do the reverse thing. Now over here, equation number 4 and 5, observe the things similarly again. Incoming velocity, it is coming more than Mach number. So if this value is Mach number is more than 1, so this value is giving you a negative value, and this value, this parenthesis part will give you a positive value. Now here I have shown you people that dA, that is the change in area, that is A2 minus A1, it is A2 is smaller, so it is giving a negative value already, I have told you. So if dA is negative, now see from equation 4, dA and dP, they working oppositely now, because this parenthesis part giving you a negative value. That means now if dA is negative, then dP will opposite, that means dP will be positive. Why? Because this negative parenthesis part is giving you a negative value. That means left hand side dA by A and right hand side dP by rho v square, they are with opposite sign. If dA is positive, then dP will be negative. Similarly, if dA is negative, then dP will be positive. What I am trying to clear over here, in this case, while the flow is supersonic, then dA and dP, they are working oppositely. And in case of equation number 5, here dA and dV, they are working in a same manner. So dV will be also negative. While dA is negative, dV is negative but dP is positive. What does this mean? dP increase করেছে, তার মানে what? That means P2 minus P1, that is giving you a positive value. If it is positive, that means what? That means P2 is greater than P1. Exactly তাই, exactly, that is the magic. We in our daily practice we always assume that is a converging thing is acting like nozzle, always it will increase the velocity, but not really so. If you change the flow characteristics or flow velocity, then the same cross section, here you can see that velocity is getting dropped. That means what? That means V2 minus V1 is giving you a negative value. What does this mean? V1 is greater than V2 but V2 is less than V1. So that converging section is act like a diffuser now. And if you do the same thing for diverging part, you will see the diverging section will act. If you do the same thing over here, what will be there? See, dA is same thing, A2 minus A1, so A2 is bigger, so it will give you a positive value. Now come with the change in pressure, it will be negative now because they are acting oppositely, and dV, it will be now positive. So velocity is increased, so I can say here that V2 is greater than V1 and dP is negative, so I can say dP is negative means what? P2 minus P1 is negative, isn't it? dP means P2 minus P1, so if it is negative then P1 will be greater, P1 is greater than P2. That means the pressure is getting dropped. So if pressure is getting dropped, velocity will be increased, and you see velocity is increased. So now diverging cross section, but it is acting like a nozzle. That is the thing I am trying to clear over here, that the same cross section, they will work according to our supplied velocity of the fluid. If you send the fluid with supersonic speed or subsonic speed, that same fluid will act like a nozzle or a diffuser. Understood up to this limit or not? Thank you. So that is the governing equation of nozzle, and with the help of that governing equation we can draw these conclusions, from where you can see that how that cross section of the nozzle with the incoming and outgoing velocity, they are so important over here. So if anybody asks you that what is the combination, what is the governing equation of nozzle, then you have to derive that equation, and from there you can easily show that how that equation is important over here. And if you combine both of these equation, if you combine both of these cross section like converging and diverging, if you combine those cross section, then what will happen? Then it will be named as a converging diverging cross section, and actually we use that cross section in case of a steam turbine. So if you combine both of this cross section, it will work like this. It will look like this. Okay, now this part, obviously consider that fluid which is coming to this side, this inlet side, this is the outlet side. Consider the Mach number of the fluid which is coming from there, it is obviously less than 1. Mach number is less than 1 incoming side. Okay, now whatever I have done, just just consider all those things over here. In this particular part, just already I have wiped it out. You can have from your copy that case 1 I am considering, while the Mach number is less than 1. That dV in this part will be getting the 0, greater than 0, and dP will be less than 0 in this converging cross section, because the Mach number is less than 1. And gradually, while it is reaching to this throat part, basically in this throat part the Mach number will be 1. It can be proved. It can be also proved that in throat part, the minimum cross section part, the Mach number will be 1, which is known as sonic velocity or sonic flow. And while it is going to the diverging part, in this part dP will be less than 0 and dV will be greater than 0. And from there, this part is known as, this diverging part is known as supersonic nozzle. Supersonic nozzle. And this particular converging part is known as subsonic nozzle. Subsonic nozzle. This part and that part. And this actually exit pressure is known as back pressure. This exit pressure is known as back pressure. If you slowly increase this, decrease the back pressure, then the velocity of this outgoing velocity will be increased. And in case of steam turbine, this kind of nozzle actually is used, by which we can increase the velocity at the outlet. It will be increased a huge amount. And that nozzle actually named by the Swedish engineer Carl G.P. Delaval nozzle. Carl G.P. Delaval actually was his name, and this nozzle, which is a shape of a convergent diverging section, it is named, just to show respect to him, Carl G.P. Delaval nozzle. Okay, so we are going to use this kind of nozzle in steam turbine. Actually, nozzle itself is a huge topic. Nozzle itself, it is a huge topic. So I am not going to enter into detail of that particular nozzle, because it is only part of the nozzle it is included in your this particular subject. So that is the governing equation, how it is related to the nozzle flow. That thing I try to clear over here. Now we are going to see that how the nozzle actually work. That means which thermodynamic process actually goes on inside the nozzle. Okay, so inside the nozzle, actually the thermodynamic process it is executing. Theoretically we can say it is a isentropic process. So thermodynamic process, for a nozzle, we can say ideally it is a isentropic process. Isentropic process means it is a reversible adiabatic, we also say it. That means the nozzle is completely insulated. Like this is a nozzle, suppose it is a completely insulated device from the outside, so no heat will transfer through this boundary to the system, and no heat will be radiated to the atmosphere also. It is the incoming side, it is the outgoing side. Actually, isentropic process is a hypothetical one. It cannot be achieved actually. Okay, because heat transfer cannot be stopped by using insulating device or insulating material. It is not possible at all. But in ideal case, we consider that is a process by which that expansion of the sting is taking place inside the nozzle. Okay, so nozzle is insulated. Why it is insulated? Just to stop heat transfer. Heat transfer, nothing will be there. as well as there is no moving part inside a nozzle. There is no moving part like cylinder piston arrangement or a rotating device, nothing is there. If there is no moving part, then we can say no work transfer also will be there. Work transfer, nothing will be there. If there is any moving part like inside a IC engine, a cylinder piston will be there. Inside a cylinder a piston is moving. For a turbine a rotating shaft is there. If this kind of motion is there, then we can say some work is being produced, so the work will be transferred to the system or out of the system. But here no work is coming to the system. If we consider the nozzle as a system, then no work is being supplied to it, as well as no work will be produced by the nozzle. So that's why no work transfer is there. Okay. Now by steady state steady flow energy equation, steady state steady flow energy equation. Steady state means with respect to time there is no change in fluid flow, velocity, density, temperature, the flow parameters is not going to change with respect to time. That is steady flow. Steady state and steady flow, that is the steady flow. And steady state means the state is steady, the state is not going to change. Okay, so if we apply that steady state steady flow energy equation over the nozzle, that means incoming part of the nozzle, suppose this is the section 1, and outgoing part of the nozzle, that is section 2. How this steady state steady flow energy equation look like? It is a very simple equation. It is a conservation of energy. It can be expressed like this. With respect to specific term I am expressing, that means with respect to unit mass. How it looks? H1 plus V1 square by 2 plus Z1, or rather say ZZ1 plus Q equals to H2 V2 square by 2 plus ZZ2 plus W. Nothing to fear about it. I can express the term H is nothing but the enthalpy, or rather say specific enthalpy. Enthalpy in easy word, it is nothing but the amount of heat stored in it. You people don't have to go in detail. Enthalpy, it is basically a energy which is known as enthalpy. In easy word I can say it is the amount of heat stored. That V1 square by 2, you can understand this thing, that is the kinetic energy for unit mass, because half mv square is the kinetic energy. If you divide it by mass, then it will be specific kinetic energy, that will be V square by 2, that I have written over here. And potential energy, you know that it is mzz. If you divide it by m, then it will be zz, that I have written over there. So that is nothing but kinetic energy per unit mass, per unit mass. Similarly zz1, it is also potential energy per unit mass, and Q is the amount of heat you are supplying. Basically that specific enthalpy deals with internal energy and flow energy, U plus PV, that is actually enthalpy. I am not going to give you all the detail because it is related to thermodynamics and it is not a subject of thermodynamics. Just know that these are the parameter which involves with steady state steady flow energy equation, and one subscript mean at the inlet and two subscript mean the outlet, and you can see that if some heat is there, some work will be produced. That's why Q is substituted by W, nothing else, or replaced by W. Obviously if you supply some amount of heat, some work obviously will be produced, no option is there. So if you use this equation onto this nozzle, then what will be the change? See, already I told you that there is no heat transfer, so Q will be 0. There is no work transfer, W will be 0. it is with the same elevation. So ZZ1 and ZZ2, they will also will be nullify each other. They will be nullify each other because it is, we are considering with the same elevation. So the equation will be converted like, suppose if I use this V2 in terms of VE, it will be more easy. VE means exit velocity. So it will be look like this: VE square by 2, it is equals to HI minus HE. HI means the enthalpy at the inlet, HE means the specific enthalpy at the exit, and plus will be there V1 square by 2. I am writing it VI square by 2. I haven't done nothing special over here, just V2 is being replaced by VE, that means exit velocity. V1 is replaced by VI, that is the inlet velocity. Similarly, H1 and H2 replaced by HI and HE. H2 stands for HE and H1 stands by HI, inlet and exit, nothing else. What we are going to do over here? One question can come in your mind: sir, what we are doing? Why you are torturing us like this? Because we are trying to find the velocity at the exit side. We are trying to find out the velocity at the exit side of the nozzle. From here you can find it. I can write this expression: VE is equals to 2HI minus HE. If we ignore that VI is so less comparing with VE, actually it happens so. If we consider that inlet velocity is so less, I can put triple less than exit velocity, then square of that again divided by 2, that term can be neglected. So I can write like this. What I am telling you, if the inlet velocity is so less than the exit velocity, generally it occurs so, and square of that less term and divided by 2, it will be very less. So it is not so important to add a very minimum value with this thing to make it. So we can ignore this part and convert this relationship like this, from where you can find the exit velocity of the nozzle itself. And if suppose the inlet velocity, it is not neglected, it is given in the problem, then you cannot ignore it. If it is not ignored, then it will obviously will be there. There is nothing special about it. If you cannot ignore this part, so this part obviously will be remain there. And if it is not given, then you can ignore it and make this relation easy. Understood? So this expression is giving you the velocity of exit of nozzle. Now one question can be there: sir, this HI, HE, from where we can get it? Those things can be achieved from steam table. So steam table अभी तक पीछा नहीं छोड़ा है, छोड़ेगा भी नहीं जब तक ना ये सेमेस्टर खत्म हो. So from steam table, the pressure will be given. Which pressure we are talking about? One pressure at the inlet of the nozzle. Inlet of the nozzle means that pressure is exit of the boiler. Are you getting me clearly? That pressure is inlet of nozzle. This pressure, which the steam pressure at the inlet of the nozzle, that same pressure is outlet of the boiler or exit of the boiler. I say exit of boiler. So the boiler, suppose it is producing the steam which, suppose 50 bar, it is the pressure of the steam which is generated inside the boiler drum. Then that pressure steam will be fed to the nozzle itself. So if in your problem boiler pressure or the steam pressure in the boiler is given, then that pressure will come over here also at the inlet of the nozzle. With respect to that steam pressure, you have to go to the steam table and find the enthalpy of this particular point. It will be achievable from the steam table. And similarly, the pressure at the exit of the nozzle, that is known as back pressure also. Back pressure, sometimes use these terms technically. Back pressure of the nozzle. If this is given to you, then use that pressure value to the steam table and find the exit enthalpy of the nozzle. So by some way, you have to find out these two enthalpy to achieve or to gather the velocity at the exit part of the nozzle. And one thing should be remembered over here, that this expression always give you the same unit from left side and right side. Check, is it giving you the same unit or not? Like, suppose take it from here, that VE square by 2 is equals to HI minus HE. That expression I am taking, ignoring this VI square by 2. So from there, check left side unit and right hand side unit, are they giving you same or not? Why I am doing so, you can understand within a few minutes, within a few seconds. See, this HI or HE, they are the specific enthalpy, and in steam table they always will be given in terms of kilojoule per kg. This kind of unit you can get from the steam table. Right, left side, velocity square, which unit it is giving you? Meter square per second square, because velocity gives you meter per second, square of that, this is the thing, isn't it? Now how you can convert that equation? If you multiply kg at numerator and denominator, then what will be there? See, kg meter per second square, that is, do you know kg meter per second square, what does this give you? What does this give you? kg meter per second square, do you know? এটাও ছোটবেলাকার পড়াশোনা, কিন্তু ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং এ সব শেখানো হয় না, এটা ক্লাস 11 12 7 8 9 10 এ nobody knows this unit. ইকিরে খুবই বিপজ্জনক ব্যাপার তো। একটা ছেলে বা মেয়ে যদি অ্যাটলিস্ট মেকানিক্যাল, ইলেকট্রিক্যাল বা সিভিল ইঞ্জিনিয়ার হয়, হ্যাঁ পাগল। একটা স্টুডেন্ট যদি বলে যে হার্ডকোর ইঞ্জিনিয়ার থেকে পড়ে এসছে, মেকানিক্যাল হোক, ইলেকট্রিক্যাল হোক, সিভিল হোক, তো পিপল এক্সপেক্ট সাম বেসিক নলেজ রিগার্ডিং দিস থিংস। কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স বা ইলেকট্রনিক্স এরা এইসব নিয়ে ডিল করবে না, বাট এই বেসিক আইডিয়াগুলো কিন্তু হার্ডকোর ইঞ্জিনিয়ারতে থাকা উচিত। কেজি মিটার পার সেকেন্ড স্কোয়ার, হ্যাঁ তেরি, it is nothing but Newton, that is force. এগুলো একদম বাচ্চাবেলা শেখানো হয়েছিল। Force is nothing but mass into acceleration. Now acceleration, mass is kg and acceleration is meter per second square. So what does this means? Kg meter per second square, that is nothing but force. Force is nothing but expressed in Newton in the SI system. So kg meter per second square, it will giving you Newton. 1 meter is still left there, and at the bottom side there is kg. Understood? Kg meter per second square, it is giving you Newton. 1 meter is still left on the numerator side, and at the denominator side 1 kg will be left there. So what does this give you? Joule per kg, isn't it? Understood? Thank you. So see, in the left hand side that is joule per kg, in the right hand side kilojoule per kg. They are not giving you the same thing. Most of the books, they convert this relation with the 1000 term. But why that 1000 is coming? The basic concept is this: any of the book never told you that how v square by 2 is equal with this kilojoule per kg. That way they are equal. Basics should be clear first. High rise building or sky rise building can be constructed if the base is strong enough to bear it, otherwise it will fall down. So this velocity square by 2, it will give you joule per kg, and in the right side kilojoule per kg. Obviously some 1000 term must be multiplied with there, by which this left hand side also give you kilojoule per kg. So 1000 term at the denominator should be multiplied. So the final expression, whatever I have written over here, that will be slightly modified like this way: v square by 2000, because 2 multiplied with 1000, and hi minus he, now I can write by hd. Hd means enthalpy drop. D stands for drop, enthalpy drop. And why that enthalpy drop? Due to the isentropic process inside the nozzle. So hd is nothing but enthalpy drop, that is hi minus he. So from there I can find the expression like this: B equals to 2000 hd whole root. That is the final expression. If anybody having any confusion, then please ask me. So many problem will be there. Written পরীক্ষা হলে তো প্রবলেম আসে। এখন তোমার তো মাল্টিপল চয়েস এক্সাম হবে, সেখানে তো আর বড় সড়ো প্রবলেম দেবে না। বাট from turbine itself 15 marks numericals always will be there. I will show you how to solve them, because that is my responsibility, show you that how they can be solved. But from your exam point of view, most of the guys will be there who are actually preparing for the exam only. Then I can say you that those numericals can be given in a 1 or 2 marks question. Just like in case of boiler, we have done combustion problem, fuel combustion problem. They are 15 marks question. They cannot be given for 1 or 2 marks. But a small numerical can be given, like enthalpies are given and you have to find out the exit velocity of the nozzle, as well as along with the enthalpies, the inlet velocity of the nozzle is also given. If the inlet velocity is also given to you, then you cannot ignore it. That point of time, which relationship we have to use? That point of time, VE will be root over, obviously that expression whatever I have written over here, that Vi square by 2, it is still there, it is not ignored. So that point of time, that relationship should be Vi square plus 2000 hd, because in your problem it is given that incoming velocity of the nozzle, you cannot ignore it. So 2 marks numerical can be there, that enthalpy at the inlet and outlet of the nozzle is given to you, as well as the incoming velocity of the nozzle is given to you, and it is asked that what is the exit velocity of the nozzle. So this relation will be used to find that what will be the exit velocity of the nozzle. Understood? And in actual practice, if the ideal process we consider, then we say that the process will be a isentropic process inside the nozzle. But in actual process, already I told you that in actual case, isentropic process is an ideal one, hypothetical one, it is not achievable. So in ideal case, some heat will be dropped, that means isentropic process cannot be achieved. So from there I can find the efficiency of nozzle also. efficiency of nozzle. That can be expressed by sorry, actual velocity by ideal velocity, as well as in terms of heat drop. It also can be expressed like Hi minus He and Hi minus HES. What is this ES? If the ideal process is executed, then that is the isentropic process. In case of isentropic process, that is the enthalpy drop. Isentropic process, that means the ideal case. Then Hi, that's different subscript I am using to differentiate the thing. You have seen that, you can see over here Hi both are there same, because the inlet enthalpy will be remain same if the process is isentropic or non-isentropic. Inlet enthalpy always will be remain same. That's why I have keep the same notation Hi. But the exit enthalpy will be different. If it is the isentropic process, that is in the ideal case, then more enthalpy will be dropped. That is expressed by HES. And if it is a actual process, then this is the actual process. In actual process, some heat drop will be there due to the friction. Some heat will be lost to the atmosphere. You cannot stop the heat transfer actually. So all the time the denominator part will give you the more value comparing with the numerator part. That's why the efficiency always will be less than 1. So I can write over here that HES is the enthalpy, or rather say specific enthalpy if the process is irreversible. Irreversible means reversible process and irreversible process you people have studied in class 8-9 standard. All the thermodynamic process we are talking, that is the isentropic process, like here it is a reversible process, we assume so. That means nothing loss is there, you can execute the process in reverse side also. But if there is any kind of losses is encountered over there, then the process is a irreversible one. And HES is the specific enthalpy of the steam, while the process is not the isentropic one. Obviously some data will be given that this amount of heat drop is there, or it should be mentioned that ideal process and actual process. So it is the actual process. Okay, and HE I am not writing. HE is the specific enthalpy if the process is a reversible one, that is a isentropic one. Okay, now that kind of relation can be used to find out the efficiency of the nozzle. And in actual practice always certain amount of friction will be there, friction between steam and the nozzle surface, and due to that some heat will be getting dropped, like 10 to 15% steam heat will be dropped. In actual cases all the time some friction must be there, and due to friction some heat will be getting dropped, like 10 to 15% heat drop will be there for friction between the steam and the nozzle surface. Okay, and if suppose it is given in terms of percentage that this amount of heat is getting dropped, that means enthalpy drop, it is also getting reduced. Suppose it is given in a problem that 15%, suppose this is the data, that 15% heat drop is occurring inside the nozzle. This kind of data is given to you. Then while you are finding the velocity, that is the exit velocity, then what relation you should use? You have to use 2000 HD was the ideal case. Now some amount of wastage is there, then obviously that should be taken into account. So that percentage, what is the percentage of heat loss? If it is 15%, then 0.15 multiplied with HD will be there. Why it is occurring so? Because 15% heat loss is occurring. So as a result of that enthalpy you are getting from the steam table, those are for isentropic process, H1 and H2. And we have to consider the 15% heat drop. Then 0.15 will be multiplied with that ideal value. Then you can get the actual value. Are you getting me or not, beta? Why this 15% is coming there? Because suppose in problem it is given 15% heat drop inside that nozzle. That is the actual incident occurs. Then while you are finding the exit velocity of the nozzle, then that amount of heat drop will be counted over there, and that HD is nothing but that HE minus HI. Sorry, HI minus HE, and that HI HE can be gathered from the steam table, but they are for the isentropic process, and in actual case 15% will be dropped. That's why 0.5 will be multiplied with it. And this relationship is valid while you are ignoring that inlet velocity comparing with the exit velocity. If you do not ignore it, then how it will look like? If you do not ignore Vi, then the relationship will be V1 square will be there, sorry, Vi square will be there, and the rest part will be remain same, 2000 into that 0.15 into HD. Don't count this 0.15 always will be there. It is an example. You replace this 0.15 by a alphabet K. Most of the books use K. Why this K is there? K is the amount of percentage of heat loss. K is the percentage of heat drop in actual case. Then that expression will look like this. Anybody what can understand that suppose in the problem it is given 10% heat drop, still you are putting there 0.15 because sir you have written in the relation 0.15, so why should I replace it by 0.1? You have to replace it because it is given, the heat drop is something else. Understood?